This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN Network. And joining me right now is Dr. Cliff Gross. He is the chairman and CEO of Tekcapital Plc. It's a publicly traded company. I got two symbols for you: TEK on the AIM and TEKCF on the OTCQB. Dr. Gross, thank you for joining me today. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, we only complain on Mondays here, so Tuesday we're doing okay today.
Good attitude.
Thank you. So, this is our first time doing an interview together. So, as it's tradition, I'd love to start off. Can you please provide a quick overview and history of the company, and then we'll go from there?
Yeah, sure. The company was founded in 2014 in Oxford, England. And the focus of the company is to mine university discoveries from around the world to find those that are worth investing in, and then build companies around those discoveries and bring them to market, and hopefully improve the quality of life of the customers of those companies.
So, you must have great relationships with every tech transfer office that is out there right now. Is that the main source of where you go to find potential new ideas to bring into the portfolio?
Yes and yes to both of those questions. But a lot of the universities that we source technologies from don't have tech transfer offices. The top few hundred do, but we have a network of almost 5,000 institutions in 160 countries. And we electronically connect with them, and we capture all of their discoveries that are available for sale or license in every area of science, medicine, and engineering. And then we have a team of scientists. We have 60 scientists that are able to filter these properties to try to find the diamonds in the rough, and if we see something that's compelling and after our due diligence, we decide to acquire the rights to it, we'll build a portfolio company around it, put in our own capital, hire either the CEO or the directors for the company, and then hopefully guide it along so that it could stand on its own 2 feet. Since 2014, we've established now 4 companies that are, doing quite well. Even though they're young companies, they're really making a name for themselves in their respective spaces. And they're Bellascura, which is a medical device company focusing on respiratory devices, which is a pretty current issue right now for most of the world. Solaris, which is a company that makes the world's smallest edible salt crystals. In this case, small really is beautiful because it means you get less sodium, about half of the sodium in snack foods without any change in flavor. Lucid, which is making smart eyewear that allows you to not only correct your vision, but listen to music, take and make calls, talk to Siri or Alexa, order an Uber, all through your glasses with nothing in your ear. And they look like regular designer glasses. They're priced the same as designer glasses, but they allow you to remain connected to your digital life. And also, we have a company called Guidant, which is making software for autonomous vehicles to improve the safety of those vehicles. And they're building right now the first remote monitoring and control center in the state of Florida for monitoring autonomous vehicles. And if the vehicles get into a scrape, they could actually jump in metaphorically and take over control of the vehicle from the remote center and call a first responder or do whatever else is necessary. Sort of the human touch on top of artificial intelligence in autonomous vehicles. So those are the companies that we built with this infrastructure that we've established. And they're really making great strides. We're very proud of them, and we're hopeful that they'll be successful this year and in future years as well.
So, Dr. Gross, what would you say then is your criteria? When you were looking at these 4 companies, you mentioned some of the base things you look for, of course, but when you're digging down deep and doing the due diligence, what were some of the core aspects that you found that attracted you to some of these companies?
Well, the overarching sort of theme across what we do is we'll only acquire technologies that if they are successful in the market, they could actually improve the quality of life of people in a serious way, either improve their health or their safety or their productivity. So all of the technologies have that in common. They have to have a technology readiness level called TR of 6 or above. In other words, they have to have proof of concept. We don't acquire science projects. We do acquire scientific discoveries where the heavy lifting on the science front has already been done. But now there's still heavy lifting to do, but not on the development of the technology, but rather sort of crossing the chasm and bringing it to market. And the other thing is we'll only acquire a technology if it really addresses an unmet need in the market that currently is in excess of $1 billion. So we screen against everything else, which is most things actually. So with those screens in place, we're able to acquire selectively a couple of really vibrant technologies. And once we do that, we have another sort of requirement. And that is, we're of the mindset that breakthrough technology is wonderful, but you really need sort of star power management to make it happen. And often in early stage businesses, you'll have, interesting technologies, but the management is also early stage in terms of the experience curve. And that really doesn't cut to your favor, in our opinion. You can get lucky, but statistically, the early stage of both the management and the technology increase the likelihood of failure. So we like vibrant technologies coupled with star power management, and we seek to find star power managers for each of our portfolio companies. And so, for example, in our salt business called Solaris, which is Latin for salt, they make a product called MicroSalt. So who did we hire? We hired for the board of that company, Eduardo Suchin, who was the brand manager for Pringles, the fourth largest snack food business in the world. We hired Steve McCready, who was the vice president and director of product development at Albertsons, the second largest supermarket chain in North America. His team was responsible for outsourcing all of the private labeled snack foods for all 2,300 stores. And then we hired a really capable gent, Victor Manzanilla, from Procter & Gamble. He ran the Febreze line, amongst other things. So we assembled a team that has, run very large businesses globally to take this compelling new technology to market. And you need that. It's not just because it sounds good. You need it to overcome the inertia and the extremely well-funded and stubborn incumbents that are in the market. So that's an example of what we've done. In our Guidant business unit, Guidant has a remarkable, for a young company, in our opinion, it has a remarkable group of intellectual properties that really cover thoroughly what they're seeking to do, which is the remote monitoring and control of autonomous vehicles. But they have an equally remarkable team. Heading up the team is Harold Braun. He was previously the CEO of Siemens Nokia Networks, which is one of the largest tech companies in the state of Florida. A couple of years ago, they had 4,000 employees in Boca Raton. So he's the CEO, and he's extremely knowledgeable about networking globally. And then joining Harold on the board is Johan Denishin, who is the current COO of Volkswagen North America. But 2 years ago, Johan was the executive vice president of General Motors and the president of the Cadillac car company. And then joining Harold and Johan is Daniel Grossman. Daniel helped build a company called Zipcar, which was sold to Avis Budget. And then he was hired by General Motors to run their mobility company called Maven as COO. And so Daniel is on the board of Guidant and is also chief revenue officer. So you could see we have this remarkable intellectual property, sort of an equally or even superior remarkable group of executives running it that know the turf extremely well. Again, it doesn't guarantee success, but it increases the probabilities when you have those sort of combinations of structural intellectual capital and human intellectual capital.
This is a perfect segue because I want to know a little bit more about your background and how you came into all this. I'm assuming that you have some experience with some small early stage companies and taking them to some sort of exit here, So Dr. Gross, love to hear more about that.
Yeah, well, not to belabor the point, but I've started 3 companies, which all 3 subsequently became quoted. My first one, Biomechanics, I did an IPO on the NASDAQ. The second one, UTEC, I IPO'd on the Amex. And the third one is TEKCFF, the one I'm in right now. So that gave me a lot of experience with early stage businesses seeking to commercialize new discoveries. Additionally, I ran the provincial venture fund for Nova Scotia, Canada, where we saw a lot of really compelling and interesting technology investment opportunities while running that fund, we were investing in early stage. We were investing roughly in 2 companies every month. And so over time, that kind of builds up pretty quickly. You get a cadre of companies throughout the province doing interesting things. So that was, the combination of my experience in these early stage businesses and capital markets. But prior to that, I was in academia. I was a professor at NYU, which is in your backyard. Great school. I enjoyed it immensely. And I received an endowment from the Rockefeller Family Fund, and I became chairman of the Department of Biomechanics at New York Institute of Technology. So I had sort of a split career of academia and early stage technology companies.
Very good. Well, Dr. Gross, to close out our interview here, from what you can tell us, what would you say are some of the company's value catalysts moving forward now? We're in 2021, but I'd say maybe for the rest of this first half of the year.
I can tell you directly. I mean, and there are hopes as opposed to declarative statements of what will happen, just by way of disclaimer. So Lucid's just introduced these fabulous new glasses. They're the glasses I'm wearing now. They're Bluetooth enabled. You probably wouldn't know they are unless I told you. And the glasses are going very well. They were just introduced about 2 months ago. And they have already 95-star ratings. Customers love them. They've had to reorder them twice since January this year because they were running out of production. They just announced yesterday publicly that they onboarded a major distributor to get them into big box stores throughout North America. So for Lucid, the major catalyst is to get into a national chain store that has an optics center in it, which would exponentially grow the sales and be synergistic with their e-commerce brand marketing. They also onboarded Richard Sherman, the NFL superstar, as their brand ambassador. And Richard has done a wonderful job with the company and is a strong supporter of the business. In terms of Belskira, they've been working hard for 3 years to develop the world's most advanced portable oxygen concentrator in a time when there's actually a worldwide shortage of oxygen concentrators because of the number of people with COPD, which is about 250 million, coupled with COVID-19. Very often, people, when they recover from COVID-19, they have some residual lung scarring, which requires the use of supplemental oxygen. Belskira has done a wonderful job developing this new portable oxygen concentrator. They submitted it to the FDA this past December 2020 for clearance. They just received clearance on the device about 2 weeks ago. And so that's a major milestone for them, and I guess by reference for us, because we started the company. And they're seeking to go public. This is what they've already announced. They're seeking to go public this year, and we believe they will. So they have a remarkable product that currently has an addressable market of $1.7 billion. And their product has some very unique features to it. We think that's an exciting catalyst for Belskira. In terms of Guidant will be demonstrating in the next couple of months the first remote monitoring and control center for autonomous vehicles in the state of Florida, which we think is a milestone event for that company. And we're very excited to see that happen. And we think what's good for Florida would be good for other states and other jurisdictions as well. So Guidant is really off to the races with a remarkable team in technology. And finally, with Solaris has gone into production of these microsalt crystals. And they're roughly 100 times smaller than table salt. So they pack quite a punch in terms of saltiness, but with half the sodium. And so they started a snack food line, which has now just been released a few months back, and now they're in stores throughout North America. And they're hoping this summer to introduce packets of salt. They own the trademark MicroSalt. So just like you would have a package of Splenda on the table, if you wanted to reduce your caloric consumption. But in this case, you could reduce your sodium consumption with the MicroSalt. But it's not a package of chemicals, though. It's all natural, non-GMO, kosher sodium chloride, but produced in a way where the salt crystals are so small that you need to use less of them to get the same sense of saltiness. And so they're very excited about that. And they're also excited about the potential of one of the major snack food companies onboarding microsalt in place of their traditional flake salt that they're using to reduce the sodium consumption of their consumers without affecting the flavor. And they're hopeful about winning some major company this year. It's not a guarantee, of course, but there's more than 24 companies testing the product right now. So we're hoping that they will have a breakthrough on that front. And those are the catalysts that will drive the portfolio companies, and by reference, Tekcapital as well.
Well, with that, Dr. Gross, where can our audience go and find everything they need to know to follow along the Tekcapital story?
TekCapital.com, TEKCAPITAL.com, and Tekcapital on Twitter. Can't miss us.
Very good. Again, Dr. Gross, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Good luck, stay safe, and I look forward to our next update.
All right, terrific. Thanks for the interview.
Thank you.